And we will start with a short mindful breathing meditation exercise. Maybe we can generate a good intention by thinking, may us coming together, giving our precious time to listen and to reflect, contemplate what we have listened. Due to all of that, may we be able to discover our own Buddha nature, Tathagata Karma, having fully discovered our Buddha nature, may we be able to progress on the Bodhisattva's 5 paths, 10 bhumi, and achieve fully enlightened state. So we can fulfill highest purpose of others and oneself. And to fulfill the highest well-being of all sentient beings, including oneself. Okay. So we could refuge in both in the prayer. Okay, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient. So we last week we kind of discussed from some of the verses that cover that in how our pure Buddha nature, Tathagata Karma, can be discovered to its purity fully, step by step, like a a statue made of gold that has been covered by the mud, and at the very beginning you can't see any of that because they're full of mud, and as you started to cleanse it, you started to see a little bit of it, and as you clean more and more, you begin to see more and more clarity of the image and the purity of that, and then after you have been able to clean all of them, all the muds, then you can see fully, exactly, fully how it is, in same way, our ultimate nature of our mind, the Buddha nature, we are unable to see its purity because it has been covered by all the muds of all these afflictive emotion obscurations. And as we enter the path, from the path of accumulations, preparations, then we started to clean those obscurations and delusions. And as we clean them, we begin to see the true nature of our mind, or Tathagata Buddha nature, more and more clearly, and as we move through the path of seeing, meditation, through the 10 bhumis, then again we begin to see, as we begin to clean and clear more and more of those obscurations, then we begin to see more and more clarity of our own potential, Buddha nature, the ultimate nature of mind. And then when you achieve the path of no more learning after the 10 bhumi, then we are able to see clearly without any obscurations, fully we'll be able to see. So that is more or less we spoke about that, the progress, the gradual progress on the path, and through that gradual progress on the path, by combining, while we try to meditate on the emptiness during the meditative sessions, and during the post-meditations, trying to accumulate merit through the practice of method, and through the combine of the wisdom and method, then we will be able to clear more and more of those obscurations, the delusion, as well as the imprint level of those delusion, subtle obscurations. And then, finally to be able to actualize the dharmakaya, dharmakaya of mind, fully actualize that and fully achieve enlightenment. And so in that, we spoke about the first two pairs. We spoke about 10 bhumis, especially the first two bhumis. We went to the first two bhumis. And and so we are on that. So we are in verse number, I think we finished verse number 79, and we are in verse number 80. And that is the third bhumi. And as I mentioned last week, all 10 bhumi, even though they all practice the 10 perfections, but each of those bhumis specified in particular bhumis, and third bhumis specify on the perfection of the, particularly perfections of the patience. Okay, so once the afflictions waves pulls back, stainless prajna brightly shines. This dispel all the boundless darkness, and thus is the illuminating. So the third bhumi is called the illuminating. And why third bhumi is called the illuminating, and so that is where it is. During the meditative equipoise, the third bhumi, when they meditate on emptiness, so in that meditative equipoise, then all the delusions such as attachment, anger, ignorance, all kind of settle downs, it kind of settle down, all the gross and subtle delusion cannot manifest, is unable to manifest in that meditative state. It ceases in that meditative state, Even though it hasn't fully abandoned at that time, but it is not manifesting, it has ceased from manifesting because in that meditative state, And that is because, one has, by the power of that wisdom, by the power of the wisdom, clear wisdom, that is without that any of stain of those delusions, because of power of those clear wisdom, realizing the emptiness, manifesting, that is free from all the stain because of that. Then because of that, when the practitioner, the bodhisattva, when they come out of that meditative equipoise, and even in post meditations, then just as the big darkness is, where darkness is prevailing the darkness is being cleared by the light, in a moment. And similarly, in that when you come out of meditative equipoise, then there is a pervading of that kind of illuminating, bright ray of lights, and so that is why it's called illuminating. So that kind of is in the appearance, in the post-meditative appearance, you have that kind of appearance of illuminating, all the darkness, and that is because through the power of that meditative equipoise, so that is why it is called the illuminating. Okay, the next one, and in terms of the delusions, there are mainly two delusions, okay? The delusion that is to be eliminated by the path of seeing, and the delusion that is to be eliminated by the path of meditations, okay? And the delusion that is being abandoned, to be abandoned by the path of seeing is already been abandoned. And then within the delusion, that abandonment of the meditation sessions, or the delusion to be abandoned during the path of meditations, then there are 9 levels, okay? Gross level, subtle level, more subtle level. Within the gross level, there are 3 levels: gross of middle, gross of subtle. And within the middle, there is 3, gross of middle, middle of middle, and subtle middle. And then within the most subtle, then there is, gross of most subtle, middle of most subtle, and most subtle, And so the next 9 stages act as antidote to each of those delusions, those inner delusions, The second bhumi is the antidote towards the growth of the gross delusions. And it abandoned the growth of the gross delusion at that time. And then in the third bhumi, then it abandoned the middle of the gross delusions, In the fourth, then it eliminated the subtle, the growth of the subtle of the growth, okay? And so that, and then same as you progress. So that's how, in term of, so with that, it is a bhumi, what the main practice emphasize on in terms of 10 perfections, in terms of what they abandon. Then there is, each bhumi, they abandon particular delusions, and starting from particular delusions, starting with the delusion to be abandoned as part of seeing, and then the delusion to abandon as part of meditations, and within that, then 9 levels, starting from gross to subtle, and then there's individual abandonment of delusion abandonment. So that is how they progress, while abandoning one delusion by applying the meditation and that practice, and then you move to the next stages, in accumulation of merit that need to be accumulated during that path, during that bhumi. Okay. So the next one is 81. So that is the fourth bhumi. It always gleams with a light so pure and is englobed by the wisdom shine, with all bustle being fully dropped. Hence, bhumi is held to be radiant, the radiant. So the fourth bhumi is known as the radiant. Okay. So again, because again in the fourth, the beam of light of beam, internal light of beam radiate, by applying by the power of applying the antidotes of always to its own, the abandonment to be the subtle and gross object to be abandoned, to abandon, to that. And then in term of the sixth perfection, then the emphasis on here the perfection of joyous effort, and by that, and because of that, because of the emphasis on that, then one is free from, or one is abandon all the mind that get distracted, towards, busyness of that, and so, and during that, then one is perfected or expert in, the 37 harmonious practice of 37 practice of harmonious to enlightenment, in this, and so because of that, and then due to that light retain, and therefore is called the retains, and that is retain. And here, the light radiates even more than the previous third bhumi. And the reason that, as we mentioned in third bhumi, the light is illuminating or radiating, there is the appearance of that kind of light radiating during the post-meditation sessions. And that is because during the meditation sessions on strong emptiness, then all your, gross and subtle delusions cease or stop from manifesting through that. And then this next one is the fifth bhumi, It trumps in science, sport, art, and craft, full variety of samadhi range, and and over afflictions, very hard to master, thus is considered difficult to master. And so it is mentioned, in the fifth stages, one is expert in general science, general all knowledge science, one is expert, the bodhisattvas, in that one become very expert in general kind of knowledge, general knowledge science, especially, such in arts, craft, kind of creative, and sports and so forth, and then one has accomplished, mountain or super mountain, different variety of samadhi, one has cultivated, one has developed many different concentration of samadhi, mountain and super mountain, all of that, and again in fifth, the among the 10 perfections, the emphasize on the perfection of the material concentration of samatha, so therefore that being that the full of variety of samadhi arranges, and then through that then one become expert into the subtle and gross level of the Four Noble Truth, gross and subtle level of Four Noble Truth, and then it's also, and overcome affliction very hard to master is means, when you, as a bodhisattva, when you try to help and benefit others, when you're trying to help and benefit others, sometimes instead of appreciating, acknowledging your help and benefit, sometimes people can even accuse you and criticize, accuse for your support and your help. When that happens for ordinary beings, they will be very discouraged. One will be very discouraged. You are trying to help, you are helping, and instead of being acknowledging, appreciating your help, then they started to criticize you, they started to accuse you, all kind of things, then, for ordinary, they will be extremely discouraged. It's very difficult to still be compassionate. Still, it will be very difficult to still be compassionate, still to be able to help them, for ordinary. But here, the bodhisattvas in 10 bhumi, they overcome that kind of being losing compassion, from being discouraged, all of that. So that is here that is the affliction hard to master, means that particular kind of your mind being disturbed due to such response or reactions for your compassionate help and benefit. But here, the bodhisattvas also overcome that. Thus, it is considered difficult to master, because they have mastered all this, something which is difficult to master for most ordinary beings, that here they have mastered that, and so therefore that is, because they have mastered over that, something which is difficult to master generally, to train, and so because they have trained, so that is difficult to master, okay? So that is the 5th bhumi. And the 6th bhumi, is called the facing, and why is called facing, and so the 3 kind of enlightenments, there's 3 kind of enlightenment, of the enlightenment of hearer, the enlightenment of solitary realizer, and enlightenment of the bodhisattvas. Those are 3 enlightenment. Gather of all their excellence, arising, ceasing, to exhausted, this bhumi held to be the facings. And here, gathering all their excellence is like the path that lead to those 3 enlightenment, 3 kind of excellence. The path of hearer, the path of solitary realizer, the path of the bodhisattvas. Those are the excellent virtues. That is the excellent path that lead to those 3 results, 3 enlightenment. So, and through those practice, excellent practice that lead to those, the path of virtues that lead to those enlightenment, through that, then one, gather the excellent collection of wisdom, excellent collection of wisdom, and through the practice of loving kindness, compassion, out of loving kindness, compassion, bodhidharma, and then engaging into the generosity, moral discipline, patience, so forth. Through those practices, then one gather the excellent collection of merit. So then through those different practices, you gather the collection of wisdom, especially during the meditative sessions, and you try to gather the collection of merit, especially during the post-meditation sessions. And through the meditation and post-meditations, through those different practices, then the bodhisattvas gather the excellent collections of the wisdom and the merit, And through that, those then one collect more and more collection of improve and progress, and gather more and more wisdom, collection of wisdom and merit. And because one need to gather 2 collection in order to achieve enlightenment, so you are increasing those through those practices, so those excellence, And then in terms of rising and ceasing to exhausted, it means perfecting, maybe being expert into the dependent arisings, by seeing objects of arising and ceasing, by seeing that, immediately being aware of the emptiness, The moment you see the bodhisattva, they cease arising and ceasing, or any objects. By that seeing, arising and ceasing, immediately, able to see the emptiness of that. Just by seeing that, able to see emptiness. And through that kind of, understanding of emptiness, through dependent arisings, greatly, and then, meditating or entering into the absorptions or concentrations of that realizations of that wisdom realizing emptiness. So that is exhausted. This bhumi is held, and that is called is facing. In the Nagarjuna's his precious garland, he explained, in this is called facing, because that bodhisattvas in this path is facing or getting closer to enlightenment. Is facing or getting closer to the enlightenment. Facing and getting closer to the enlightenment. And here, among the six perfection, the emphasis is on, the perfection of the wisdom. So earlier, we have in the fifth, the emphasis on perfection of the material concentrations, and with the support of strong material concentrations, and combining the wisdom, then by relying on karma abiding on material concentration and the special insight, then your practice get even more stronger and stronger, and stronger than before. And because of that strong practice, then be able to see, while everything's empty, at the same time, there are dependent arising, like the reflections, and that understanding get even more stronger, even more powerful, and through that kind of powerful and stronger understanding and realizations, then one get even more closer to the enlightenment. Okay, so that is the 6 and the 7. Seven bhumi, since is ever playing with a web of light that is configurated in a circle and has crossed samsara's swimming pond, this is the level is gone far away. So here it is said, when you reach the 7 bhumi, one is able to see, countless Buddhas, surrounded by, So during the post-meditation, of course, in meditation sessions, everything dissolved, but during the post-meditation, when you come out of that post-meditations, and then, you see, so many circles of or countless Buddhas. That is what it means. Since it's every playing with a wave of light, configurated in circle, you see so many Buddhas, thousands of Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas in that seas, full of all the light, emanating light from all these big clouds or crowds of Buddhas, And from that, then, you see them, you are able to receive the teachings, and through that, you experience their directly experience their incredible love, compassions, and so that is what. And then having meditated on emptiness more and more, again and again and again, over and over, then one is able to free from the murks of the samsara, or the swam of the samsara, has crossed the samsara swimming ponds, and then one is able to engage into particular observations or concentrations, where all the gross consciousness cease or dissolve into the subtle mental consciousness. And then one is able to engage into that practice of meditation in a moment coming, where one has this ability to go in that meditation like in one moment deeply, and at the same time able to come out of it deeply like that moment, Gokpa, we call Gokpa, Gokpa Nyamchuk. Gokpa Nyamchuk is a particular concentrations, when all the gross six consciousness kind of cease into that more subtle mental consciousness, and to be able to stay in that concentration or absorptions. Here, the Bodhisattva gain kind of the expert or ability to be able to engage into that kind of absorptions in the moment, at the same moment, to be able to come out of that absorptions like that, very quickly. So, So Nagarjuna in Precious Garland, he said, he explained why this is called gone far away, because the excellent qualities of the Bodhisattva in the 10 bhumis has gone very far away or superior from the many others, the earliest bhumis, and those on the path of accumulations and preparation, and those are on the ordinary path. So that is why it is superior, or gone far away, or superior, And also it is a superior or gone far away from the rest of the others, because it has that ability, it has achieved that ability to go in the absorption and come and go in observation, that kind of absorption in a second, in that. So that is that's the seventh. And in the 7, as we discussed before, amongst 10 perfections is the method. Okay, that is the method. The perfection of method. And the next one's, and also, I don't know whether it's in Nagarjuna's writing or whether it's Chandrakiri's writing. I cannot recollect. I think it is a Chandrakiri's. When the Bodhisattva, the Bodhisattva, even on the first path, the path accumulation, will overpower even the arhat through the lineage, by the power of lineage. And they give an example, and it is also in sutra, is based on sutra. Like when a prince is born in a king, okay, a child is born in a king. Just because he's born as in a king, because of that lineage, because he is the king, prince, so even the minister who is being very wise with so much experience, that child will overwhelm them because of the lineage. In terms of experience, in terms of knowledge, in terms of expert, the minister has much more. But simply because of he was born in that lineage, he overpowered that, become more powerful. Similarly, the bodhisattvas, through the power of the bodhicitta mind, even when it comes to wisdom, arhat had more wisdom. Okay, they have even bodhisattva who doesn't even have a realization of emptiness. You know, in terms of the wisdom, the arhat has much more wisdom and all other many practice quality they have exercised, but by the power of the bodhicitta mind, like the prince, then they overwhelm them. Okay. But when bodhisattva reach the 7 bhumi, not only they're overwhelmed by the lineage, but they're overwhelmed by the wisdom itself, the arhat. You know, at 6 bhumi, your main emphasis, the main focus is the paramita of the wisdom, and by 7 bhumi, you have become expert in all of that, and through that expert in that, you know, now you are not only the bodhisattva, not only overpower or overwhelm the arhat by the bodhicitta mind or by the lineage, but also by the wisdom itself. So the wisdom of that is even much more than that. So, okay, so then the next one is the 8 bhumi. Okay. Being careful by the Buddhas and having entered into the wisdom's oceans and being without effort and spontaneous by the hordes of manas is immovable. So the name of the 8 bhumi is called immovable. And why is it called immovable? You know, so yeah. So it is said once, you know, when bodhisattva attain the 8 bhumi, then you have the bodhisattvas on 8 bhumi eliminate or abandon all the afflictive emotions. From now here, there's no more afflictive emotions. Of course, there is something to be abandoned, but no more afflictive emotions. From here, the the obscuration to be eliminated or abandoned is the subtle obscurations, the obscuration of the knowledge. Okay, the obscuring of the knowledge. And sometimes you see those last three. The first 7 bhumi is known, impure bhumi, and 8, 9, 10 is called pure bhumi. Sometimes you see those terms. You see 3 pure bhumis and 7 impure bhumis. And the reason why they call this term pure and impure bhumi is during the first 7 bhumi, the afflictive emotion are still there. The delusion are still there. Of course, from gross to more subtle and subtle, but still it is there. Once you achieve the 8th bhumi, then Bodhisattva completely eliminate all the delusion or afflictive emotions. If they have abandoned the delusion, then what is there to be abandoned? And there's abandon the subtle obscuration, the subtle obscurations. That is the obscuration of knowledge. That is the thing that they need to abandon now. And because they have abandoned the delusions, there's a great bliss, Because of that great bliss, there could be danger of being kind of falling in the extreme of blissfulness, like arhat. When they achieve nirvana, there's no more delusion, they're blissful, so they can be, they can bliss out for eons and eons in that observation of concentrations, And so even the bodhisattvas, because of their great compassions and bodhicitta mind, they don't have any intention to have individual liberations and to engage into such observations of individual blissfulness. But when you are free from all these afflictive emotions, there is so much bliss. Even you don't have intention, you might just go in that, there is a danger of naturally going into that state. And that is when the Buddha helped them, and that's where it says, being cared for by the Buddhas, And then, in order to make sure that they don't kind of fall into that, then Buddha manifests and send light of rays from their body and kind of wake up them, from that, and then lead them, so they don't fall in that, And then having entered into the ocean, wisdom ocean. So here, wisdom oceans, that now you have abandoned all the delusions, together predispositions of all the delusions. And so when you have free from all stain of the delusions, and then you engage into this ocean of wisdom, of concentrating on that meditations on emptiness, that's free from all the stain of the delusions. So that is where, and being without effort and spontaneous. And so again, on the edge, is the bodhisattvas emphasize among the 10 perfections, the perfections of the power. And because of that, the perfection of power, because it will emphasize, and then, whatever practice meditation you do, then there is no effort and spontaneous, And because of that spontaneous and effortless and free from all the delusions, and therefore, one cannot be disturbed by the hordes of maras, the internal maras, of those strain or delusions, strain of the delusions, So therefore, one cannot be disturbed or moved by those internal maras of the delusions, because now you are free from that. Since you are free from that, now delusion cannot disturb you. The delusion cannot move your mind or your practice or yourself. And therefore, one is, so that is immovable. Yeah, that's why it's called immovable. And since you have overcome the delusions, all the delusion, including the fundamental ignorance, which of them, so from here, there's no more grasping of inherent existing by any kind of mind, Before there can be innate grasping, subtle level of innate grasping. But from now on, there is no more mind that is grasping inherently. Even on very subtle level, no more of that. And so therefore, the mind cannot be disturbed, moved by that kind of grasping at all. From now, the grasping and the other delusion that arise from those, the maras of other delusion that arise from that grasping. And then next one is the ninth bhumi. Since the name of the ninth bhumi is called excellent insight. And why is it called excellent insight? Because since those yogins have completed their discourse teaching dharma in all awareness, discriminating perfectly, this bhumi is considered excellent insight. So here it says, during this ninth bhumi, again here ninth bhumi, the emphasis is the perfections of the prayer, the perfection of the prayer. And here, through practice meditation, the bodhisattva on 10 bhumi, perfect in such particular wisdom, particular awareness or wisdom, that is able to distinguish, different phenomena, different reality, and so forth, So, and through that wisdom, then they are able to guide sentient beings who are inclined towards 3 different paths, different sentient beings who have different inclinations, different predispositions, different interests in different paths. According to that, then they are able to guide them, lead them by showing them the path through teachings, advice, instructions, whatever their needs are, according to their inclination, according to their predispositions, and so forth. So that is why it says those yogins completed their discourse teaching dharma, and they are able to teach the dharma or guide or lead 3 different kind of sentient beings or disciples who have different inclinations towards different paths, 3 different paths and 3 different enlightenment that we just described before. The enlightenment and the path of hearer, the enlightenment and the path of solitary realizer, the enlightenment and the path of bodhisattvas or Mahayana, So according to their needs, then they are able to do that. and they are able to help in that way or guide in that way, because in all their awareness, discriminating perfectly, because they have this awareness, that wisdom that's able to distinguish and discriminate exactly what the needs are and their inclination and so forth. And therefore, this Bhumi is considered excellent inside. Here it says, the Bodhisattva on 9 Bhumi is ready to be crowned, is ready to be the crown and to be given the final, final initiations by the Buddhas, So, and then the next one is the 10 Bhumi, okay, and the 10 Bhumi is known as the cloud of Dharma, okay. The kaya with this wisdom nature, which is stainless, equal to the sky, holds the Dharma of Buddhas. From it, the cloud of Dharma forms. So here, among the 10 perfections, while they practice all 10 perfections, but especially emphasize the perfection of exalted wisdom, perfected. And here, that bodhisattvas, by relying on concentration, known as vajra-like concentrations, but by relying on that and acting that vajra-like concentration as the antidote, towards the most subtle obscuration, the most subtle obscurations, most subtle obscurations, and through that it eliminates and cut the most subtle obscurations. And when you are able to cut and liberate from that most subtle obscuration, the next moment, when there is no more obscurations, even the most subtle one, then then one becomes fully enlightenment. So one has that one. In that one has gathered that kind of exalted wisdom, that's free from, not only the delusions. The delusion has already been abandoned by the 8 states, 8 Bhumi. So not only is free from those stain, but now is also free from the stain of the subtle obscuration of knowledge. It hasn't abandoned, but so it therefore is in that nature stainless, equal to the sky. So just as the sky, the nature of the sky, blue, clear, and no more clouds. There's no more clouds anymore. No more cloud anymore. Same in that, there's no more obscurations. Free from the obscurations. Generally, I think when we talk about the path, in all, whether it's the path of seeing, path of meditations, in each of them, there is mainly 2 different, you can say path within that. Nyamsha Ishi Jeto. Nyamsha Ishi is the wisdom of meditative equipoise. Jeto Ishi is the wisdom of post meditations. Okay, so there is always meditation sessions and post-meditation sessions. So wisdom on meditation and wisdom post-meditation session. Within the meditation sessions, then there are two normally, Parje Melam and Namdo Lam. Parje Melam is the uninterrupted path. Namdo Lam is liberating path. Both of them meditative. Both of them are part of the meditative sessions and the wisdom meditation. Parje Melam, non-interrupting path is the actual antidote. Okay. So when you act the antidote, then there's no more that delusion, whatever the objects that is, whatever obscurations. But we don't say it is abandoned fully at this point. Next one, when it is liberating path, then is when you abandon. Even the first one, even though there is no more, but we still those lessons are abandoned. And they give you an example, like you have chased the thief. Okay, there's no more thief from your house, but you haven't shut down the door. So that is what they say. Even though there is no more thief, you have already chased it, but still you have not shut the door to be kind of like safety, Similarly, like non-interrupting, even though there is no more delusion, but still is not fully abandoned because you haven't closed the door. And then in the next stage of next stages where it is called Namdolam, liberating path, I guess. I don't know whether that's the exact translations. And then that is like a closing the door, and you can be sure, and you can just. So similarly like that. So. The kaya with wisdom nature, which stainless equal to the sky. So here it's saying, that that one has direct realizations, of Dharmadhatu, that is free from all the stains, similar to the sky that's free from all the clouds. Similarly, that, and one had realizations of that similar to the sky, free from stainless or free from all the clouds. Similarly, one has the realization. One developed the highest level of realization of Dharmadhatu, and holds the Dharma of the Buddhas. So here is holds the Dharma of the Buddhas. Here in the Ten Bhumi, they say, during the during the post-meditation sessions, the activities of helping and benefiting sentient beings of that Ten Bhumi is almost equal to the Buddha. In that sense, it holds the Dharma of the Buddha, means it holds the activities of all the Buddhas. The activities of all the Buddhas. Activities of all the Buddhas, it's during the post-meditation, the how much the help and benefit that Bodhisattva can perform towards sentient beings is, in meditative ego voice, then it is not same. Even in post-meditation, it is not exactly same, but almost kind of equal, But during the meditative voice, it is not equal, because when you achieve Buddha, there is no post-meditation, and meditative is always a meditation, always post-meditations. While you are meditating with equipoise, you are able to perform post-meditation activities same time. While you are in post-meditation sessions, you are able to perform meditative equipoise. There's no kind of separate meditative equipoise and post-meditative equipoise in the Buddhas. Is able to perform. They become one in that. For the 10 Bhumi Bodhisattvas, still they haven't reached that. They haven't reached that. And therefore, during the meditative equipoise, they cannot perform like equal to the Buddha's activities, or even close to that. But during the post-meditation, then they are able to perform a lot of activities, very close to the Buddha's activities in helping and benefiting sentient beings. So here in Nagarjuna Precious Garland, what it says is, in this Bhumi, just as when there is a, rain coming from the big clouds, because there's a raining from the big clouds, and therefore, in the world, then, all the plants, it helps the plant to grow, And similarly, from the clouds of that Bodhisattva's practice, realizations, wisdom, the clouds of teachings, the rain, from the clouds of that Buddha's, 10 Bhumi Bodhisattvas, realizations and wisdom and method and all of that, then it rains with the dharma. It rains with the dharma. It rains with the teachings, activities of teaching and dharma, and through that, then it helps to growth or realizations of the plants within the different sentient beings' mind stream. Different sentient beings' mind streams being open and growing of those different realizations through that rain of the teaching from the 10 Bhumi. So that is why it is cloud of the Dharma. And then it says, to this Bodhisattva, then all the 10 Bodhisattvas, the 10 Buddhas of 10 directions will then, empower or initiate the 10 Bodhisattvas, and then is crowned as the what you call it's like the crown prince, okay, who is going to be the king, the next. So it has been then crowned, to be the next to become the fully Buddha, So yeah, so then if we try to condense the 10 Bhumi within the practice of, three higher training, because again, all the training, all the practice can be condensed within the three higher training in a way. And so in that sense, the first Bhumi, it says, is like the basis for the higher training. Then of course, the second Bhumi is the training of the moral discipline, and then higher training moral discipline. The third Bhumi is higher training into the meditative concentration, and then the fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, they all are higher training of the wisdom, because as we talked before, in terms of the fourth bhumi, then, they develop wisdom expert on the 37 practice harmonious to the enlightenment. So that's part of wisdom, And in the fifth bhumi, then, they cultivate a wisdom that is expert on the subtle and gross and subtle level of the Four Noble Truth, and the sixth, then we talk about the emptiness, dependent arisings, and so they all are part of the wisdom, So, any questions so far? Anyone? Yes, please.
My question is from last week, Geshe, when you were explaining the first ground. And what I understood is the object to be abandoned on there is fabricated self-grasping. Is that correct?
Jigdapunda, yeah.
And is that the philosophically induced idea of self-grasping?
Yes.
So
yeah.
So I was surprised, Geshe, because I thought, the philosophically induced ideas of self-grasping is the idea like, the Hindus have of a Brahman or an Atman, a self that is separate, from the aggregates.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I thought like that kind of analysis was done way before to get rid of the idea. So I was surprised that, at the path of seeing, something that is philosophically constructed is what is abandoned. I thought it would be like an innate type of.
No, the innate start with the path of meditations. I think maybe philosophically induced might be maybe a little bit limited, maybe. Because within that, there will be philosophically induced, but also even someone who is non-philosophical, who doesn't have any philosophy, but they still have feeling there is self because they have their reasoning. Nothing to do with maybe philosophical, but maybe they have their own reasoning, they have their own thinkings. Do you get it? That enforce your self-grasping. Why there is water or glass from its own side. Do you get it? It's not just there is an appearance of inherent existing option, grasping it, then there is reasoning behind that. It's inherently existing because I can see it. I can grab on it. Do you get it? So I don't know whether you want to call that philosophically induced or not. Even someone who have not studied any philosophy, they will have that kind of reasoning. If you ask anyone, this glass does not exist by objectively from its own side, there will be a lot of people, even the young, who have not been induced. That's absolutely wrong. There is a water, there is a glass from its own side because of this and that.
I see.
So that is kind of being induced by different reason and logic, whatever reason, logic, whether it is through philosophy or whatever, but there is some kind of reason in philosophy. It's not just that it's a grasping of inherent existence. There is something behind that which reinforces that. Whereas maybe the animals, maybe they don't have that reinforcements. They just see objects, whatever, whether they see food or whatever they see, there is something there from its own side. but maybe they might not think, oh, it is inherently or it is from objective side because this and that. They might not have that reasoning. But for a lot of human beings, a lot of us, even you are not philosophically that, but there is always that kind of reasoning also. And so that will be the kind of applicator, not the Indian one. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Questions, comments? Yes, Sneha.
So one other thing I have always been struggling to even understand conceptually, Geshe, is this idea of knowledge obscurations.
Uh-huh.
Because, what I've understood is that the knowledge obscurations are, you are now liberated from samsara, but you still have the appearance of inherent existence. So you will not create any contaminated karma because you've gotten rid of all the afflictive obscurations, but somehow this appearance of inherent existence prevents you from becoming a Buddha. And I don't understand like what that means. Why is it a problem to see that?
Well, because it's not true. There's no inherent existence, and appearance that is mistaken. So you still have some, even though you don't have belief in that, you don't have grasp into that, but still there is appearance that is mistaken appearance. For example, we see many things, there is appearance of something, we don't believe that, even though there is the appearance. So therefore, you don't really get in big trouble, okay? But still, it is a mistaken appearance. It's something, it's not true to the reality. That is not how reality is. You have an appearance that is not true to the reality. And so therefore, as long as you have something that is not true to the reality, that appearance is a obscuration to enlightenment. Even you have no grasping. And
so
yeah.
a bodhisattva at that stage, as you said, I know it's mistaken. And so how do they understand that? They understand the appearance is mistaken, so their behavior or what they will do, their action, is still based on an understanding that it's a mistaken appearance and therefore, act appropriately.
Yeah, they because they don't believe in the appearance. Not only the bodhisattva, even the arhat, so there is appearance, but they are not deceived by the appearance. Okay, they are not deceived by the appearance. And so therefore they cannot be misguided or misled by that deceptions. Whereas other beings, they can be misled and misguided by that deception. So they don't fall into that deceptions, because even there is appearance, they have understanding, realization. That is how the thing, that is not how the thing realized. It's just that this appearance is false. They have that awareness all the time. It's not something they have to remind themselves. But they have that awareness all the time. All the time it is a false appearance, even though there is that appearance, it's a false appearance, it's a deception appearance. That is not how reality is, that is not how truth is. They have that awareness all the time, and therefore they don't get deceived by that. And so therefore they don't get engage into any actions by being deceived by those appearance. And yeah.
So Geshe, is this related to what you were saying about the 10-stage bodhisattvas, where they are still in meditative equipoise and non-meditative equipoise, and so they cannot realize the two truths simultaneously?
Yes.
Like a Buddha.
Yes, they cannot realize true truth directly, simultaneously at the same time.
Because of the knowledge obscuration.
Yes. Because of that exactly because of the obscuration of knowledge, because of that appearance. Yeah. And so
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So did that help or clear a little bit?
A little bit, Geshe-la. Obviously, it's like such a big idea. I feel like I'm just like scratching a little bit, but at least now I'm like connecting dots.
Yeah, again, on one level, we are kind of describing of experience of very highly enlightened experience by someone who have no experience, So we don't have much with our direct experience, we don't have so much to compare, because it is something, descriptions of something. So that become more difficult. If there is something that we can kind of compare with our experience, something that's similar, then sometimes maybe we might be able to understand a little bit, So a lot of when we describe a lot of those, that become a little bit more challenging because of that. But theoretically, I think that is how it's described.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was thinking, thank you, Geshe-la. I was thinking along those lines is that you're talking about all this that happens after you're in the path of seeing, and it's helpful to have the long or the vision of all the development and all the bhumis that happen after that. But there's so much, there's so much for us ordinary beings, there's so much time and preparation, accumulation before we are ever even approaching the very first bhumi or the path of seeing is both it's helpful, it's illuminating, and I think in a way it's motivating, but it also is humbling in terms of this is not this is not where we're at right now. So yeah.
Definitely. I think definitely is humbling. Definitely it is when we study that, it reminds us, that we need to work hard. It's not going to come like that. The realization doesn't come and we become enlightenment like that. Sometimes we have this idea, instant enlightenment, instant enlightenment. We like that idea.
Yeah.
We wish and when someone says they can show you path to have instant, we might be very much attracted to that, But if we study all this path that has been described in the sutras and then elucidated by the Nagarjunas and all the masters, it's a gradual path. It's a gradual path, step by step. And to know that, and that is also know that we know where we are and what is our next step, which way we want to kind of, while we have the long-term visions of enlightenment, but at the same time, what we are really kind of, at this point, where we are kind of targeting or, so I think definitely those can be very, very helpful. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe we can, if there's questions, one more questions. I don't know whether maybe we can go one more. So maybe we might be able to go one verse. So then once a practitioner on the bodhisattva path, or bodhisattva who is on the path of bodhisattva, go through the, the first four path and 10 bhumis progressively, progressing step by step, path by path, bhumi by bhumi, then how to achieve, after having trained on that path and the bhumi, how to achieve the result, the dharmakaya, and achieve the path of no more learning, achieve the path of the fifth path, the path of no more learning. Because when you become a Buddha, then you don't, that is, so from also that it shows why there's no more, until you achieve enlightenment, we continue to learn. Even the 10 bodhisattvas, they continue to learn. You achieve no more learning state when you become enlightenment. That is when you become Buddha, then definitely, then we don't have to study, we don't have to learn. Until then, there's always something to learn. There's always something to gain. There's always something to study, and so how to achieve that dharmakaya, the buddhahood, so that is, so that the abode of the Buddha dharmas fully bear in the fruit of practice. This fundamental change of state is called the dharmakaya. So it is called the abode of the dharmakaya. I think, I don't know, I'm not so sure about the exact translations of that abode, it will more be the basis of the dharmakaya, Buddha Dharma. No. And the base or the cause of that Buddha Dharma or Dharmakaya of enlightenment is this, the realizations of the 10 bhumi. The realization of the 10 bhumi is the basis, is the cause of the basis of that. And fully bear the fruit of practice. And also, I don't know the translations that Buddha Dharma, the abode of the Buddha Dharma. Maybe instead of Buddha Dharma, I think it will be just a Buddha, the base or the cause of the Buddha, and fully bear the fruit of practice, and and that fully bear the fruit of practice, that Buddha, that Buddha, which is based on the realizations of the 10 bhumi, and through all this practice on the path, 4 path and 10 bhumi, then one actualize the Buddha, and within the Buddha, then there is the dharmakaya that can be experienced directly among the Buddhas themselves, only Buddha themselves, and then there is some kaya that can be experienced or seen by the Arya Bodhisattvas, and then there is a nirmana kaya that can be experienced and that can be seen by the ordinary sentient beings that are free from obscuration to see the Buddhas. Ordinary sentient beings, but who are free from to be able to experience to see the Buddhas. And so that dharmakaya, sambhogakaya, nirmanakaya Buddhas is, it bears the full fruit of the result, is the result of all the practice, and it comes through the effort or the basis of that. And this fundamental change of state is called dharmakaya. So the mind of the 10 Bhumi Bodhisattvas, the mind, the wisdom, the wisdom mind of the 10 Bhumi Bodhisattvas, is then transformed into, dharmakaya wisdom, the dharmakaya wisdom. And then, the emptiness of the 10 Bhumi Bodhisattvas mind is transformed into the natural dharmakaya, this natural dharmakaya. And so it's called dharmakaya. So when you talk about dharmakaya, when you talk about dharmakaya, then there is a wisdom dharmakaya, natural dharmakaya. Okay, and the natural, so and that dharmakaya, the so-called dharmakaya, the wisdom dharmakaya is the result of the 10 Bhumis Bodhisattvas wisdom mind, and that natural dharmakaya is the result of 10 Bhumi Bodhisattvas the emptiness of the 10 Bhumi Bodhisattvas wisdom mind. And so that is how one achieve the dharmakaya. Okay, and so I think maybe we will kind of stop here today. So we can do the dedications. So we can dedicate using all the virtues that we have created. Then we dedicate to actualize the 2 bodhicitta mind, ultimate and conventional bodhicitta mind within our minds and all the minds of all sentient beings. Due to the merits of this virtuous action, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which is arising not diminish but increase more and more. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Good night.